you know, first, probably the best exercise to go through, which, we have our students do early on, is to collect all the things they've done, all the achievements they've, been able to accomplish, awards they've been given, whether it's, through work or social activities, community service, sports, clubs at school. Collect all that information, put it in, and order it, and line it up so that you're ready to put that information in the Common App when the time comes. And so that, you've thought through it and you've given appropriate amount of time and effort to the planning of this portion of the application. And then when it comes to actually putting it in the application, and I would just say, what we're talking about right now applies not just to the Common App, but it applies to the Universal, to the Coalition, or even if the college university has their own application that they use. In most cases, in 99% of the cases, there's going to be some place that they want you to showcase your activities. Okay, so you need to make good use of the space they give you, because the space is limited. So, for example, the Common App gives you 150 characters in the description box, right? So you don't want to be wordy. You don't need extra words. You want to abbreviate where it's appropriate. And you don't have to have complete sentences and that sort of thing. So, give me an example. The title, say, of the activity is founder and president, Community Service Society. Okay, so that's the title. And then the other thing we want to be able to do is to quantify what you've done. Right, it's so important. What it is that you accomplished, right, during that engagement. So in this case, we can say something like recruited 30 plus members, and we don't spell out plus, we say 30 plus with, the character sign, of plus members, develop partnerships with 7, and we, 7 organizations, we don't spell out 7, and, facilitated 20 projects with at least 10 participants, so it's, you do it in as few words as possible. You don't spell out numbers and that sort of thing. So, take advantage of the space that you have to really flush out what it is that you've done and accomplished for that activity.
Well, it's all about, maximizing those 150 characters, but take out the fluff, take out the fluffy words, that don't necessarily, you don't necessarily need to get the point across.
Right.
And so I think that then you can put more applicable, more in there. Get the point across.
And exactly right, Amanda. And lastly, not lastly, but it's also important to be as close as possible in your estimation of the time that you spend on these activities, because they're going to ask how much time, how many days a week, how many hours, and all that. You don't want to overstate your involvement, because it'll become pretty obvious. But you also don't want to, undersell yourself either. So, be very honest in your estimate of the time if you spent in these activities. And that's critical too. And the last point, Amanda, that we want to make is proofread it.
Yes, absolutely. Over and over. Get someone
over again. Get a second set of eyes, a third set of eyes. Okay, because it's sometimes very hard to pick up mistakes that you've made when you know what's on the paper, right? You just kind of read across it because you know what you meant to say, or whatever. So, grammar, capitalization, spelling, all those things, not just for the activities portion, but for the entire application. Obviously, making sure it's correct is hugely important.
And there's nothing worse than a misspelled word. With spell check, let's not have any misspelled words. I just got an email from an advertisement online the other day, and there was a misspelled word in the heading of it from a national company, and I
Yeah.
thought, wow, I don't
That
know.
just, I mean, we're all human, but
Yeah, we're
still
all
it
human,
leaves an
but
impression, right?
proofread, spell check.
Yeah. It leaves an impression. Yeah. So, anyway, so that's our tips for making sure that you take advantage of the activities portion of the common application or any application that you're filling out. It is important, almost as important as the essay, and especially this year for seniors, because most schools have made standardized testing optional. So they're going to be leaning on some other portion of the application because they don't have those test scores to look at. So where do you think they're going to look? The essay, probably, the activities. So, we need to just really be honed in on those things to be as competitive as possible when
And
we
I
submit
can't
our
emphasize enough also, Tom, just, with the 9th, 10th, 11th graders, when you start into high school, start keeping track of all of those activities, awards, and things now, so that you don't have to backtrack and try to figure it out your senior year. Wow, what did I do in 9th grade? Yeah, write it down somewhere. Start your resume and start filling things in, and then it'll be a lot easier.
Easier, right?
Filling out the Common App.
Yeah, if you start a folder of all those accolades that you collect and that sort of thing, and keep a list of all the things you've done, and it's hard, looking back 4 years to remember what you've done, unless it's something that you've been doing forever, so that's what you're going to be talking about. But good idea, good advice, Amanda. Thank you.
Sometimes I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone 3 years ago. So.
Wait a minute, that's me.
That's me.
You're not old enough for that to happen. That's anyway. All right. Well, okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. I hope that was helpful. We'll be back next week at noon with some more good information about higher education. So with that, Amanda, thanks for being here today, and you guys take care and have a great weekend.
And hope you stay cool because it's hot out there. Okay, take care.
Bye.